Well, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Bugle Boy in LaGrange, Texas. We are happy to see you here supporting original live music. Also, welcome to those of you who are tuning in online. My name is Heather, and we are a nonprofit organization who relies heavily on our volunteers. So I want to thank Amy and Joanna, who are here volunteering tonight. In the sound booth from Smithfield, Texas, we have Mr. Colin Guerra. And the gentleman that checked you in at the door is not only our bouncer, he is our booker, responsible for bringing talent like tonight's artist to LaGrange, Texas, Mr. Richard Scantz. So, we are going to do a 90-minute set tonight. If you want to get up and refresh your beverages or whatever during this set, that's perfectly fine. I ask you to check your cell phones, make sure they're on silent so they don't go off during the performance, and remind everyone that this is a listening room, so we ask that there's no talking during the performance, so we give tonight's artist our complete attention. And after the show, Joanna will be opening the Peeples Mall. Yes, and he's got lots of stuff over here, so buy all the merch. So tonight's artist is a self-described tree hugger who watches NASCAR. Greg Johnson of the famous Blue Door in Oklahoma City says he's the musician walking most closely in Woody Guthrie's footsteps, and he was featured in an interview this week by a gentleman called Joe Angel with Folk Tapestry, who just happens to be sitting right here. So thank you to Joe Angel. Please help me give a warm Bugle Boy welcome to Mr. Grant Peeples.
Thank you so much. I appreciate all of y'all coming to my poetry reading tonight. This is called High Octane Generation. Some people think it's about cars, but it's really not. It's about you. So long to the high-octane generation and all its faulty heirs, who at long last, having learned to live without beauty or any of her manifestations, can just sit here on this bank of sand and watch the river flow, black and backwards. Praise now the plastic tunes and tooth whiteners, the square boxes, the straight liners, the lighted paths, and hand sanitizers. The beige spectrums of knowledge, that bumbling self-righteous light we have spit into the very eye of the atom. We, the high-octane generation, have been weakened by a pathological need for power steering, air conditioning, fuel injection, solid-state ignition, and push-button roadside assistance from a revisionist dashboard savior with blood in his feline eye. But time was, we had our valves ground down, man. We had our hearts bored out. We had points and coils and rotors. We had bumpers, and brother, we had chrome. Back then we could bleed our brakes, advance a spark, torque our heads, and there was no damn check engine light because we checked our engines every day. We sat with them while they idled. We listened to their intonations and laid our hands upon the valve covers as we breathed the secrets of our hearts into their manifolds. Yeah, we were masters at backseat acrobatics. But all that was just fooling around inside a poem we already knew by heart. You see, these machines, they were extensions of our understandings of all things, both material and spiritual, and to such an extent that speed and horsepower were not just quantitative realities. No, they were allegories that fueled our passions and drove our ideals, and mapped out our interior destinations across the crooked fields of time. I have no idea what has happened now to this high-octane generation, why it can no longer burn rubber, why it resists lifting the hood to see the power, or how it has arrived at such a place that owning a car that can park itself would appear to be nothing to be ashamed of. A worried man with a worried mind. Nothing in front of me, ain't nothing behind. A woman on my lap, she's sipping champagne. She got white skin, assassin's eyes. She's staring up into the sapphire skies. I'm a well-dressed man, I'm waiting on the last train. Standing on the gallows, my head in a noose. Any minute now all hell will break loose. You see now people are crazy, times are strange. I'm locked and tied, I'm out to range. I used to care, but things have changed. This town ain't doing me any good. I ought to be out there in Austin or Hollywood. For a minute there, I swear I thought I seen somebody move. Gonna take dancing lessons, do the jitterbug rag. I ain't afraid of nothing, I'll dress in drag. A fool would feel he had something left here to prove. Lot of water under the bridge, lot of other stuff too. Don't you get up now, gentlemen, I'm only passing through. You see now people are crazy, times are strange. I'm locked and tied, I'm out to range. I used to care, but things have changed. I've been walking 40 miles of bad road. Well, if the Bible is right, this world will explode. Need to get as far away from myself as I possibly can. You see now some things, they just too hot to touch. The human heart can only stand so much. I'm never gonna win holding that losing hand. And I feel like falling in love with the very first woman I meet. Putting her in a wheelbarrow and wheeling her down the street. You see now people are crazy and times are strange. I'm locked and tied, I'm out to range. I used to care, but things have changed. I hurt easy, I just don't show it. Hurt me bad, you won't even know it. The next 60 seconds could be like an eternity. I'm gonna get down low and rise up high. All the talk in the world, it's one big lie. I'm in love with a woman and she don't even appeal to me. Ron DeSantis, he can jump in a lake. That fella looks like a weasel, but he's really a snake. You see now people are crazy, times are strange. I'm locked and tied, I'm out to range. I used to care, but things have changed. I used to care, but everything has changed. It's funny. Yeah, well, sometimes it happens, and it really shouldn't happen. When you're singing a song, you start thinking about things, and it occurred to me that song is my #1 song on Spotify, and I didn't write it. It was written by Bob Dylan, And probably the one, so there's that gives it a plus. And the other thing I did is a duet with Ruthie Foster. So that's, anyhow, I'm going to read you another poem because this is has a little bit of a Texas bent to it. It's called Louisiana Bridge. The Atchafalaya Basin Bridge. How do you say that? Anybody know how you say that? Is it Atchafalaya? Yes. Thank you. I should know this, shouldn't I? The Atchafalaya Basin Bridge spans some 20 miles of Louisiana swampland. And I'm out here near the bridge's center at 3 a.m. on a Friday morning on my way to play in Houston, Texas. I've been driving for 14 hours. I am weary but wide awake, chewing on a mouthful of gum, that's an old how to stay awake tip I got from a truck driver in Carolina. You ain't never gonna drop off to sleep, he told me, if you smacking on some bubble gum. So I'm smacking. And this masticating commitment to not falling asleep at the wheel on a bridge in Louisiana is now fueled by a chemical concoction of Red Bull and BC powder. Yeah, I'm sitting up straight and cruising pretty good because this is no place to not pay attention, I tell you. This bridge, it has a history. There are stories, and they are not pretty, about people who never made it across. People who had to face the fiery consequences of having lost focus out here. So I got both hands on the wheel. There's no music playing or anything. I don't want any music. I don't need music. I don't even like damn music. No, I've learned that music will interrupt my train of thought and make me forget what it is I should be thinking about. And I hate that. So I'm just listening to the whine of the wheels on the bridge. I got my high beams on, got my mind on the job at hand, and then I see the glint of a pair of eyes in my headlights. What the hell? Some inbred Louisiana low-life Duck Dynasty dude dumped off a poor dog out here on this bridge. What I'm feeling is not anger or rage. What I'm feeling is panic. Panic and an uncompromising need to try to save this dog. An immediate, visceral responsibility for his fate, his imperiled life, his dire predicament. He's probably 50 yards in front of me now, trotting towards me eastward against the traffic with his tongue hanging out. So now I steer to the opposite rail. I hit the brakes hard and come to a stop. I remember that I keep a leash in the glove box, and I grab it quickly. I've got some sardines in the back too, and I figure I can maybe coax him toward me with the sardines. But what the hell am I going to do with him then, once I get him in the car? I've got a show in Houston in 12 hours. Wait, I know. I can drop him off at a vet in Houston this morning, get them to check him out, and hold him till Monday. I can pick him up then on my way home from Austin. I mean, I already have 3 damn dogs, but I'll just have to work it out. I'm sure the dog, he or she, hasn't been fixed, probably has fleas and worms and all that, and it's going to cost me a fortune to get him healthy, but what the hell am I supposed to do? I'm not leaving this dog out here. Sure, he made it this far, but he doesn't have a chance in hell of getting off this bridge alive. If I don't save him, the buzzards will be picking at his bones by noon tomorrow. So I turn off the car, but I leave the headlights on, and I open the door and get out with the leash in my hand. For some reason, I am surprised by the loud drone of buzz and croak coming from this Louisiana swamp. It gives me pause. But then I realize the dog is really moving along and that I don't have time to dig the sardines out of the back of the car. I'll just have to try to catch him, convince him to come to me. Hey, buddy, I hear myself say, and I sound pathetic and inauthentic. Hey, buddy, I'm not going to hurt you. And by now he's really close and he hadn't changed his pace a bit. I can hear the tickety-tick-tick-tick of his toenails on the bridge. I can hear him pass panting. And he doesn't stop or slow down or come toward me or run away or anything. He just goes right by me like he's on the way to an appointment or something. And when he does, he cocks his head a little and looks at me with sort of a grin. And that's when I say to myself out loud, well, I'll be a son of a bitch. It's a coyote. There's a package store across the highway from the poultry plant. And when your shift is up, that's where you get a pint and your lotto ticket at. And out back, there's a dumpster where you can sit around and drink. Think of all the bridges you know you'll never get to cross. Where my people come from the dirt, a full choke and steel guitar, cigarettes and whiskey, and a dog is chained in our yard. My people come from the dirt, white bread and kerosene, and catfish and flatbeds, and sweat stains and retreads, and okra and Ecclesiastes. And there are weeping saviors tattooed to the shoulders of the dispossessed, and bloody rivers of time flowing nowhere, somewhere back deep in our past. And it's treeless and it's bleak, and trash is scattered all across the open fields. And it's busted lips and kids riding on hips, and songs of longing and loss. My people come from the dirt, a full choke and steel guitar, cigarettes and whiskey, and a dog is chained in our yard. Yeah, my people come from the dirt, white bread and kerosene, catfish and flatbeds, sweat stains and retreads, and okra and Ecclesiastes. Yeah, my people, they come from the dirt. And salvation, that's the only antidote to all this poverty and disgrace. Pride's the only card left to play when it comes to saving face. So you always better watch your back, and don't you ever spare the rod when you're standing there in the crosshairs of your angry and jealous God. My people come from the dirt, a full choke and steel guitar, cigarettes and whiskey, and a dog is chained in our yard. Yeah, my people come from the dirt, white bread and kerosene, catfish and flatbeds, sweat stains and retreads, and okra and Ecclesiastes. Yeah, these are my people. Thank you. I know Heather told y'all not to talk or anything, but if you have a question, just I can't see your hand. You just ask, like you want to know, like when I started shaving my head or something. I don't know. Just blurt it out, please. I'm gonna do a love song. I'm not really known for doing a lot of love songs, but I'm gonna do this one. And I got a text from my manager about 15 minutes ago. She says, "I'm just reminding you about the rule at the Bugle Boy about profanity." So I know, but so this is going to be a little bit of a challenge for me to get through this song. So just bear with me on that, okay, if you will. Thanks. They say every man should have a broken heart at least once, 'cause that's how we all grow emotionally. And I've been kicked around by a lot of women in my life. But nothing can compare to how you treated me. At times it seemed as though the pain would never go away. It was many years ago, I know, but I still feel it to this day. And now I see you wanna be my friend on Facebook. Are you frickin' kidding me? Well, all the memories, they're coming right back to me now. How you lied and cheated, how could I forget? Well, I moved across the world just to get away from you. And then this morning I received your friend request. At times it seemed as though the pain was never gonna quit. You nasty little hussy, oh you narcissistic. I see now that you wanna be my friend on Facebook. Are you frickin' kidding me? Well, I don't care what kind of cocktail you are, or which member of the Beatles or 1950s movie star. And I don't give a flip what your stripper name is, or if your kitty had a litter, or if Farmville's in a Twitter. I don't want to see your new tattoo, and I damn sure won't be poking you ever again. Though now I see you want to be my friend on Facebook. Are you frickin' kidding me? Did I do okay? All right. I hope there are no big donors in here or anything like that. There is I don't know how familiar you are. I am from Tallahassee, Florida. I don't know how familiar you are with the geography of the state of Florida, but there is, running east to west from roughly Fort Myers to Broward County, the Fort Lauderdale area, a highway called Alligator Alley. And Richard and I were talking about alligators early, and yeah, I've seen alligators out there. I was crossing there about 30 years ago, and had an experience. And sometimes we have these things that happen in our lives that change our lives. This was a situation in which something happened, and what it did, it made me realize that something had already changed in my life. And this is called Tears from Carmen's Eyes. Well, I was driving across the Everglades the other day, and I had the AM radio on and I was listening to some old Havana tunes from back in the day when the Casablanca fans twirled in the thick cigar smoke at the Tropicana. And there were dark men dressed in white suits who played dominoes in the shade along the Malecon. There was an angry black cloud boiling in the western sky, and I smelled the wet dog smell of a coming rain. I seen the lightning bolts flame. I heard the whistle of the wind. I could feel its power. I heard the rumble of the thunder as my hands gripped hold of the wheel. I seen a red-tailed hawk rise from the bank of the canal that ran along the side of the road, and he circled beneath that black cloud in a picture frame of lightning bolts. And then, well, he dropped something. And then he rose like a kite without a string to the heavens above. There was a woman named Carmen de la Guerra, and she was singing a song called El Dolor y Mi Amor. And she sounded so sad, and I could feel the tremendous sense of loss that weighed on her every word. And it hit me hard, and it hit me deep. And I turned on the wipers as her tears hit my window shield. Way out here, beneath the rain of Carmen's tears, where creation seems so vast, so far away from the love we could not save. Your memories flooding from my past. I don't know why I get so sentimental, but maybe that song and that hawk and that storm weren't all just coincidental. Yeah, the rain come down so hard I could hardly see. So I pulled over at the reservation and I parked the car beside an open thatched hut. There was a Seminole woman sitting there, nursing her baby, solemn and back straight. She was watching that storm as though it were a movie. Well, I killed the motor, but the radio kept playing on. And then my mind fogged up, the rain was pounding on the hood. I knew what to do, I just didn't know I could. Then I wept like a child while Carmen kept singing her song. Way out here in the middle of nowhere, everything I buried, it's falling from the sky. Everything I fear, it's like everything we held so dear. It's washed away by tears from Carmen's eyes. I don't know how much time went by before that storm passed overhead and it opened up the sky to a big red sun, bright as any that I'd ever seen. Everything I buried, it's falling from the sky. And everything I fear, it's like everything I held so dear. It's washed away by tears from Carmen's eyes. Like I said, I don't know how much time went by before that storm passed overhead, opened up the sky to a big red sun, bright as any I'd ever seen. It was as though I had awakened from a dream and everything had changed. And I kept hearing echoes to the words of that song that I'd heard Carmen sing. And for the first time since you left, I really realized that you were gone. Way out here, beneath the rain of Carmen's tears, where creation seems so vast, so far away from the love we could not save. Your memories flooding from my past. Way out here in the middle of nowhere, everything I buried, it's now falling from the sky. And everything I fear, just like everything we held so dear, is washed away by tears from Carmen's eyes, Carmen's eyes. Some of y'all might have noticed that I messed up and had to circle back. This is, I didn't realize I'd put two songs about death and loss right beside each other. We all deal with it in a different way. She's shopping for a dress that she'll only wear once. It's April in Tallahassee, the dogwoods are blooming. Her sisters, they're coming from Telluride in Houston. She can't remember the last time all three were together. Sylvia and her Colorado developer, and Beatrice and a cowboy who struck oil. Now she's just the widow of an amateur philosopher, and she read somewhere it'd be okay to wear pearls. The arrangements were easy, he was typically specific. A letter he left on his desk by her picture, words private and modest, no call for ritual. Her sisters want to prove of her hem at mid-thigh. And the sales girls, they seem overly pleasant. In black she assumes that it's their kind of fashion. Oh, but April's not the month for this sort of thing to happen. And the stockings she'll be wearing, yeah, they're ripped at the calf. Well, she drove last night when she shouldn't have, tossed her phone out the window on Miccosukee Road. But it freed her from all that she'd been holding back. And then she found her way home, and fell asleep on the floor. Now she's shopping for a dress that she'll only wear once. It's April in Tallahassee, the dogwoods they're blooming. Her sisters, they're coming from Telluride in Houston. Can't remember the last time all three were together. Won't remember the last time, no. Thank you so much. I'm going to do a song. A lot of times I start my shows with this song. For years I did that. This is, in 1995, I moved to this island off the coast of Nicaragua called Little Corn Island. And it was, ended up staying there. I kind of went down there as an experiment, kind of a personal experiment. I'd just gotten divorced and just gotten sober. And I'd been living in, I was a seventh generation Tallahassean, and I decided I wanted to see if I could break out and go somewhere where nobody knew my daddy's name, and if I could work without a net and learn to grow food and catch fish and dig a well and build a house and do all these things that I had never really done before. And so anyhow, and it's a very remote island, Little Corn Island. And there were no cars or anything like that. There's still no cars there. And I was the first foreigner to move there. I installed the first flushing toilet on Little Corn Island. And but after 11 years there, I moved back. And it was and if you look at if you think of like all the stuff that happened between 95 and 2006. I mean, when I left, I had never owned a cell phone. I didn't know what an email address was or a website. Fax was the big thing, And I came back in 2006, man, and y'all had just changed the furniture, moved it all around. And so I had never, at that point in my life, I had never sang in a microphone. I had never sang in front of anybody. I was the guy in church that when everybody was singing, I moved my lips because I just didn't, I was horrified by the sound that came out of my mouth. And but I got back and I started singing, and this was really like the first song I wrote when I got back, and it was kind of my reintroduction into American culture and society and all the kind of weird stuff that juxtaposed to where I was living on this little island. We had a thing there, a pulperia. It was like, if you wanted toothpaste or fish hooks or sanitary napkins or Vienna sausages or rice or beans, this is where you went, But you would go in there. You wouldn't go in there and say, oh, I'd like some Colgate toothpaste. You just went in and you said, I want toothpaste. And they would just put it on the counter, whatever it was. And I came here and, you go into, CVS, and there are like 2 aisles of toothpaste on both sides. It's just, it was very illuminating. And so this is a song I wrote. I wrote it for you. It was kind of not really. Actually, I wrote it to you when I got back. This is called Grant's Talking Blues. Well, I'm the kind of fella that doesn't talk much. I usually stay in my seat and keep my mouth shut. But the last couple years, I started getting depressed. The popular culture had me all upset. For a while there, I thought I was going to fold. I was starting to wig. I was losing control. So I set upon a self-therapeutic move, and I picked up this guitar, and I wrote Grant's Talking Blues. There were narcissists on the left and fundamentalists on the right, and madmen in the middle, not a savior in sight. I was overwhelmed by the lies and the danger and the doom. Your king had no clothes, and there was an elephant in the room. I seen coddled kids indulged and obese, relating to the world through computer screens, oblivious to the demise of our fragile planet and how the economy was killing it. They were just trying to expand it. I seen the love of money had a nominal effect upon who your kids were and how they would act. No, it was the worship of money that was sinking their ship. It made them soft and self-centered and spiritually unfit. You had hip-hop and NASCAR and American Idol and iPods and porn stars and virtual battles. Immediate gratification hummed a collective groan, promenading through shopping malls while there was a war going on. You've been duped and screwed by unscrupulous minions who gave away the store and stole the elections. They started that war under false pretenses, then abandoned justice and our poor soldiers in the trenches. So I started searching for answers like a starving dog, digging through this culture in search of a bone, something to hold on to, something I could believe in, something to make sense of all the madness I was seeing. But all that was there was sentimentality and patriotic blindness and religious banality. Flag-waving fools had pawned the future. Now they were losing their grip, but still digging in deeper. You see, the American experiment, it was on the rocks, all high on its fumes and deeply in hot, stumbling forward through expanding bandwidth while leaving a hideous stain on our national canvas. You see, this is just a mall-building culture, and it was in denial. Global warming kicked up, y'all just turned the dial. Bought bigger SUVs, burned coal, fertilized your lawns. But integrity's like virtue, man. You can't just turn it off and on. Anyhow, it was too late, and I despaired and turned inward, which for me, pathologically, is a dangerous venture. But I was lost and unbalanced. Things were terribly wrong. Thank God I found an antidote by writing these songs. And so that's what I do these days, try to keep my sanity. I know the whole touring folk singer thing kind of comes across like vanity. But after 50 years of living, I finally see how things work. We live life forward, but then we have to figure it out in reverse. So America's a broken dream and civilization's a bust. But I've learned to manage my disappointment and mistrust. And that's the point of this song, and that's the gist of all my tunes. But that's why this one gets called Grant's Talking Blues. La da 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 da, la da da, la da. Used to say I could walk all night, and I would and I could. Down that gravel road to the tiny town where the door was always open. And I say I walk all night, but it's not true. I can't walk all night, no, because I don't want to. I want a bed and a blanket, something like breakfast sometime tomorrow. A bed and a blanket, something like breakfast sometime tomorrow. That's how I'm living now. Hey, 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 who would have thunk it? Hey, 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 yeah, well, now who would have thunk it? I used to say I could eat a horse, and I would and I could. Backstreet joints, the middle of no place on the way to someplace else. And I still say I can eat a horse, but it's not true. I can't eat no horse, no, because I don't want to. I want thunk it? Hey, 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 yeah, well, now who would have thunk it? I used to say, I don't care if I don't have any money, so long as I got my little honey and a shack in the flatwoods. And I still say that I don't need money, but it's not true. I can't live without money, no, because I don't want to. I want one of them and two of those. Hell, that one looks good. Wrap it up. Put it on my Visa card or put it on my MasterCard. I'm singing, hey, 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 who would've thunk it? Hey, 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 well, now who would've thunk it? I used to say, I don't care if I never grow old. That flame is gonna burn, I'll make one quick turn. I'll be gone like Graham Parsons. Well, I still say that, but it's too late for me to die young. So I sit at my computer long after supper and search for old friends. That's how I'm living now. Hey, 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 who would've thunk it? Hey, 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 yeah, well, now who would've thunk it? Hey, 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 hey. Thank you so much. That's a Greg Brown song that I heard that song in the early 1980s. It was the weirdest deal. I don't know if you remember what the early 1980s was. The music was not necessarily really good at that time. And somebody gave me this Greg Brown CD. It had this song on it. And that song just, boy, it was one I just played it over and over and over. And 10 years ago, almost to the date, I put that song on a record called Punishing the Myth. It was produced by Gurf Morlix. And it was the third record that he had produced for me. And I brought that song in, and he had brought it in, and I said, hey, this is a cover, you know. And he wasn't familiar with it, so we recorded it. And man, we did it as a duet, and he did what I thought was a really fine job on it. But when I heard it, what I realized is that those early I think Greg Brown was really influenced by Mark Knopfler. But just the rhythm of that song, and what was so kind of cool about it, if you listen to the song, Gurf just does a Mark Knopfler thing on his guitar. So somehow that inner, I think that those fingerprints were on that song, and I added a bridge to it, the thing about late at night he's on a computer looking for his old friends. I kind of modernized it a little bit, threw that in there. I'm going to do another song I didn't write, and this is one I imagine she's played here. Mary Gaucher has probably played in this room. And I was playing a festival in Boone, North Carolina in September, and Mary was a headliner, and I went to see her, and she said, I've got a brand new song written that Vince Gill and I wrote this thing. And she brought out her music stand, had put glasses on the end of her nose. She was so cute and had it up, kind of everything up there. And she played this song. And a friend of mine named Terry Hudson was there. And I saw Terry when, Mary said she was playing a new song. And I said, are you recording this? And she held up her phone. I'm like, cool, because I wanted to be able to. And then Mary played this song. And immediately it got me because it has a kind of a Florida type, a little bit of a Florida theme to it, so that got me in. And then it was just this unbelievable song. It knocked me out. And after the show, I asked my friend Terry if she got it, and she said yeah. And she shared it with me, and I went home and I learned the song, kinda. And then I said, man, I'd like to play this thing. So I wrote Mary and said, "Are you okay? I know y'all just wrote this thing if I'm playing this." She said, "Absolutely." So I played it out a couple times. And then I was in the studio and I recorded it. So after I recorded it, I wrote her and said, "Are you okay if I record this?" And she was like, "Yeah, well, let me ask Vince." And so she got back. She said, "Absolutely." So I've recently recorded this song. And it's called Sometimes, and it's 2 words, sometimes. I worked the Orange Blossom Special, 48 to 54, Manhattan to Miami. I was in the dining car till Eisenhower built the interstates and airlines filled the skies. Luxury trains were boarded and the railways, they all died. Sometimes I have seen. Well, they shot JFK and Bobby and Martin Luther King. These days their guns, they're everywhere, Lord, they're shooting everything. Lived to see my first black president, made me so proud I cried. Then I saw the insurrection, I can't say I was surprised. Sometimes I have seen. Sometimes I have seen. Sometimes I am an old man now, my life, it's almost done. But in my heart, I do believe that we shall overcome. And I see through this world of sorrow to a better tomorrow, if we can get there without a loaded gun. And my wife of 60 years, she died 7 years ago. And when I dream about her now, in the dreams we are not old. So if you see a locomotive come running down the line, won't you say a prayer for her when you hear that whistle whine? Sometimes I have seen. Sometimes I have seen. Like I said, I was there for 11 years. I don't have any children of my own. And when I moved to the island, within the first little while, I carried all my went to this place called Bluefield, Nicaragua, which is on the coast. And the first thing I did is I went there and bought all this lumber and cement and everything. I had shipped down from Tallahassee. I had taken 3 pieces of 4x8 plywood and made a box out of it. This big-ass plywood box. And everything that I didn't sell or give away and that I thought I was going to need went in there. I had a boat motor and a generator and solar panels and batteries and tools and, God, Half of it I never even used. You know, you have this idea if you're going to go to a place like that, have all this. It's like when you go on a vacation, you know, you pack all that stuff in your bag and half of it you don't use. It was kind of like that. So many lessons I learned about the whole process. And but I had been there. I was building this first house. I'd actually gotten malaria like the day I got there. I had contracted malaria in Bluefield, so I got knocked back for like a month. And when I finally kind of came around, I would go out, and I was kind of like working, building this house, and I was doing it really slow. And this kid showed up, and his name was Angelito. He was an orphan. He had an aunt. She lived on the Big Corn Island. I can't really remember who he was staying with on Little Corn Island, but he was like 15 years old, and he just started hanging around. And I'd be out, you know, doing something. I'd be going like, "Where's my damn hammer?" You know, and then boom, he'd hand me the hammer, and it just kept going from there. And this kid was he was unbelievably talented. I mean, just intuitively, he didn't really know how to do stuff. But in short order, you know, I was able to teach this kid how to swing a hammer and measure and cut and nail and, you know, all kind of stuff. And, you know, eventually he was driving a boat and taking people out fishing, and, you know, he was 16 or 17 years old. And he was a huge asset to me. And he was kind of like a son, and I think some of those relationships are a little fraught, and this one would do that. We'd get pissed off at each other about one thing or another, and he'd disappear for a few months, you know. And then he'd come back, and everything would be good again. And so when I left, you know, by the time I left, he was 25 years old, and he and I had had a little falling out. Don't know what it was about. Don't remember. But I remember, you know, the day that I was leaving, it was kind of a big deal. We had a hotel. That's what I went down there and ended up doing, having a hotel and dive shop. And all the employees came down to the harbor, and we got in. My wife and I got in this boat to leave. And I remember, like, looking around to see if Angelito was there, and he wasn't. And so I got home, and a few years later, I had kind of blocked that whole experience, not in a bad way. I blocked it because I knew I was trying to move forward, and I was writing songs. I didn't write any songs about it. I didn't really talk about it. But I got a word that Angelito had been in Bluefield on the side of the road with a mule, and a truck had hit him and killed him. And like immediately, I started having these dreams about him and the island, this whole thing that I had packed up and stashed away somewhere in my subconscious. It all opened up, and I started dreaming about him, dreaming in Spanish. And you'll hear in this song, you'll hear a little about him and some of the other people that were there. It's called Last Night I Dreamed in Spanish. There's an ox-drawn cart on a cobblestone street. An open-air market flies buzzing round the meat. And church bells are ringing like they're calling out for me. I see red and black flags, tattered and torn, fish traps stacked all up and down the shore. I've had things come back, but never quite like that before. Yes, I thought it was over, all in my past, beyond my reach and out of my grasp. And then last night, well, I dreamed in Spanish. Angelito, he was whistling and raking up the leaves. Marty Bell was in the kitchen cooking rice and beans. And Brother Bing was singing hallelujah to the King of Kings. I seen a man-o-war sail across a Caribbean sky. There were pongas in the harbor, they were tugging at their lines. And turtles on their backs, tears dripping from their sad eyes. And yes, I thought it was over, all in my past, beyond my reach and out of my grasp. And then last night, well, I dreamed in Spanish. Como un ave que cruza el aire claro, siento hacia mi venir tu pensamiento, y aquí en mi corazón a ser su nido. Oh, mi pueblo extraño. I see a blackbird scratching on a rusty tin roof, and a pretty senorita with a shiny gold tooth. I've had things come back, but now they've been cut loose. Yes, I thought it was over, all in my past, beyond my reach and out of my grasp. And then last night, I dreamed in Spanish. Got all the way to the end and muffed a chord. In 2011, I came to the Kerrville Folk Festival for the first time. Came out here in a Volkswagen van. I thought that was I had one of those old what do they call them, Van Agons, and I came out and I managed to do it for 10 days. I thought that was kind of a grand achievement, and I had heard about all the lore of Kerrville Folk Festival, and I got out here and I participated fully. I stayed up too late and did all the swimming and everything, and just listened to 1,000 songs around all these campfires. And the funniest thing was there's a girl by the name of Miney Bertain, and she was from Tallahassee, and she'd always wanted to go to the Kerrville Folk Festival. And about the year before this happened, she got cancer, and it wasn't a good one. And she was fighting it, and I said, hey, you get well, we'll go to Kerrville. So that was kind of the whole process, the reason kind of thing drove me out here. She and I came out together, and we got there, and she had, she was meeting some people, and we kind of separated. When we got here, she kind of went one way, and I went the other. And like on the 10th day, I'm out there, at night going around the campfires, and I come up to this campfire, and she's sitting there, and the guitar kind of comes around, and she sings this song that I'm getting ready to sing for you. And it was the best song I heard the whole time I was in Kerrville. And she didn't write it. It was written by a woman by the name of Michigan. I don't know if y'all are familiar with Michigan or not. And it was like I fell in love with this song. And I teach this song a lot when I do songwriting workshops. And I teach it on several different levels. One, it's a story, and it's just one of the most beautifully told stories. It begins in an old kind of using a literary device that I learned from a guy named John Foster West in a creative writing course in Appalachian State, who said, never undervalue being able to use the idea of somebody riding into town or somebody riding out of town to start a story or a poem or a song. And if you think about all the movies that you've seen and all the books, how they all so many of them begin with a variation of that. And this song does the same thing. And it's a little boy, and his name is James, and he's coming into town. We have no idea why he's coming into town. And but before the end of the song, we find out. And then also, it's an allegory, and you don't know that till the end of the song. This is called Market Town. Well, James went down to the market town, sitting on his daddy's knee, for to sell their cotton, buy some livestock, and to trade their tobacco for coffee and tea. It was market day in the market town on the red clay riverside. And the streets, they were filled with strange sights and sounds. And little James, his eyes were open so wide. There were farmers and merchants, and dogs in the dust, and pigs and cattle and horses and harness, in sacks of white sugar, in tins of molasses, in cotton and bales, in trees sawed into planks. There was a man, his name was Green. He was in the market town, and he was dressed for business, and he was working the crowd. And James and his daddy, they went to see the man's wares in a little yard hidden from all the curious stares. That's where Green, the sole driver, with a whip in his hand, he set his stock to dancing and said, hey, don't they look happy? But even little James could tell the difference in style between a grimace of pain and a smile. There was an old man of 60 with boot black in his hair. They're trying to make him look younger, like there was work left in there. And a woman with 2 daughters, and a girl with 1 son. And James' daddy, his eyes fixed on that little one. Of the market town, where you could hear that girl scream as her son was sold. Oh, the barking and the bleating and all that haggling and cheating, but it turned the blood cold. But Green, he plied his whip till his both arms were tired. James saw the life leave that young woman's eyes. And then he and his daddy, they took their property away. And the scars have not healed to this very day. So take care of what you do here in your market town, with all your oil in barrels and your money stuffed into banks. You can kick dust over the blood on the ground, but then you're still just whooping people to dance. And even your child will see that. And then you're gonna see what we get. And in the early 1980s, I remember watching Bill Moyers, a great Texan, interviewing a guy by the name of Joseph Campbell on public television, and it was like an 8 or 9 part series called "The Power of Myth." I had never heard of Joseph Campbell, and it's kind of funny. I watched it, and I guess if you'd asked me 3 or 4 years later, what's the one thing you remember from watching that? I said, the one thing I remember is Joseph Campbell looking at Bill Moyers and saying, yeah, you know, thinking you know the truth is a certain kind of insanity. And I went, And that kind of was in me. And then in 2011, I started reading this woman by the name of Pema Chodron. And Pema revisited that exact kind of thing. And then I ran back across this song. Excuse me. If you're going to introduce a song, have your guitar tuned and ready to go at the moment that you're done introducing it. Stagecraft 101. Thank you, Colin. Wow. I don't know what it sounds like out there, but I think I'm sounding awesome up here. Yeah. Death and money make a point once more in the face of philosophical abstractions. Any fool can take a bus uptown to worship idols with reality and passion. So have the courage for the here and now. Don't take nothing from these half-baked Buddhas. When you think you got them paid in full, well, you got nothing at all. I'm on the road, I'm gunning for the Buddha. I know his name and he ain't gonna get away now. I'm on the road, I'm gunning for the Buddha. All it takes is one shot to blow him away. And now's the time for big ideas. Now's the time to make some bold decisions. I seen the Buddha in a bar down in Tampa, talking politics and nuclear fission. I seen him clearly, man, he's all washed up. He's moving on into the body of a beetle. He's getting ready for that long, hard crawl, but he ain't nothing, he's nothing at all. I'm on the road, gunning for the Buddha. I know his name and he ain't gonna get away now. I'm on the road, I'm gunning for the Buddha. All it takes is one shot to tow him away. And every prophet's gotta come out of the closet. Every savior wants to cut some deal, so forget that stuff about a suffering servant. Close your eyes, take your hands off the wheel, 'cause when you crash, you'll find your treasure. Ain't nothing sacred about staying alive. There's no such thing as a true story. Any damn fool can go along for the ride. I'm on the road, I'm gunning for the Buddha. I know his name and he ain't gonna get away now. I'm on the road, I'm gunning for the Buddha. All it takes is one shot to blow him away. I'm on the road, I'm gunning for the Buddha. I know his name and he ain't gonna get away now. I'm on the road, I'm gunning for the Buddha. All it takes is one shot to blow him away. Yeah. Give me just one shot to blow his ass away. So I didn't want to give too much away on them when I started talking about Pema, but there's an old Buddhist koan, and it says, if you meet the Buddha on the road, kill him. And it's really disturbing to people who grow up in the Abrahamic traditions to hear something like that, because we grow up in the Abrahamic traditions. We have to take everything, we have come to take everything that is written in our scripture literally. And if it's not, if we feel like if it's not taken literally, then we're not being true to that scripture. We don't understand the poetry of our own Abrahamic traditions. I'm not preaching here. I'm just trying to clarify something. But in Buddhism, they don't have to take it all literally. They understand the power of metaphor. They understand that metaphor is transcendent, and with metaphor and with poetry, things become better illuminated. And so the point of that was, if you meet the Buddha on the road, kill him, is a warning, of same warning that Joseph Campbell was given, that thinking you know the truth is a certain kind of insanity. And it is, because once we think we know the truth, the first thing we do when we think we know the truth is we start building walls around it to protect our understanding and protect any assault on that truth. And anyhow, that's enough of that. But that's where that song came from. There's nobody, I can't really see a lot of people here, I can't see, but I know some people are out there, and I know that every one of you over the last 8 years has lost somebody, not to death, but has lost somebody to the great schism that has fallen on our country. We've lost friends that we grew up with, people we graduated with. And it doesn't matter what side you're on of this damn thing, It's just like, there's people that we used to hang out with and, go out with and spend time with and camp with. And we can't do it anymore. We can't have Thanksgiving with them anymore. And so we have that. There are some of them, I know bands that have broken up over this stuff. And the worst of it is when it comes into families. And I told you earlier, I have no children of my own. My father was an only child. He had two children, my brother and myself. I had no children. My brother had one child, and that one child had one child. Her name is Satie. She's 8 years old. And when Satie was born, she's the last of the Peeples. She's it, so whatever. And when she was born, I knew the milieu that she was growing up in. I knew the value systems that she was being exposed to. And I knew that there were ideas of truth on that side that were pretty solid and unwaverable, if that's a word. And I had this idea that I was going to be involved in her life. I had no other nieces or nephews or anything like that. I just said, I'm going to be involved in her life, and I might be a little bit of a Trojan horse here. I might be able to have some influence on this child. And I had several. I didn't necessarily want to be an influence, but I wanted to know who the hell I was, because that's it. I have nobody else that's going to ever dig that up. I wanted to know who I was, what I stood for, but I wanted also, even more important than that, I wanted her to know who she was and where she came from, and what I felt were some of the responsibilities because of the enormous amount of privilege that we have because of the socioeconomic, racial sphere that we have been born into. And so, but I was never around. I was not invited to birthday parties. I have not been invited to Christmas. If she was in here right now, she wouldn't even know who I was. And so anyhow, I was going to write her this letter and to where it could be given to us, me and all my dramatic stuff. I was going to write this letter, and when I was dead, somebody's going to give it to her. And I started writing the letter, and it just became this song. It's called Dear Satie. Dear Satie, well, I want to tell you about the family, Tallahassee in Mississippi. That's the dirt that you come from. Your ancestors, they were hardy. They were rugged and strong-willed. They stole a continent from another people. Some are plundering it still. Dear Satie, this is the past we can't forget. Aside from bird mess on some monument, being white is fraught with privilege. I hope your eyes are never blinded to this truth. I hope your heart is put to its fullest use, and that you grow up to love others as one would love one's only brother. Dear Satie, and there's just two kinds of people in this world, little girl. Yes, and both of them are in you. The two are right there inside you, and you become which of the two you choose to be you. And this is just part of what I'd hoped I'd have the chance to try to teach you. That and how to sharpen up a word, sing a ringing Dylan verse, read some Mary Oliver, play an E chord on guitar. I'd hope to try, but I'm afraid we'll miss that ride. Dear Satie, well, I know now you'll never know me, but when you grow up, ask your daddy. You can ask him what I stood for, and let him tell you what I stood for. Dear Satie, thank you so much. All right, I'm watching my clock. It looks like I got time for two more. I had planned on being in Austin on Monday night at El Mercado, and last night 2 tornadoes ripped through Tallahassee, Florida, and neither one of my parents' homes has power right now. My house doesn't have power. My chicken coop got turned over, and I have a lot of friends who have can't even leave their houses, their neighborhoods. They're blocked in. So I have a show tomorrow night in Houston, and after that I'm going to drive on home. I had to call and cancel it at El Mercado. But I had this song. I've written this song, and I wrote it a long time ago, and it's actually on that Punishing the Myth record. But it's I've never really learned it, and it's because it's so damn long. It's 2 pages like this, and it's so I've never really learned it, and it's a song. It's about Austin, and so I just to play it in Florida. I don't know if anybody would get it or anything, so I'm going to put my lyrics up here. I'm going to be very unprofessional, though. Mary Gaucher did it. Of course, she did it with a brand new song, not a 10-year-old song. But I'm going to play you this song. I'm going to try to. And I just want to say this is not necessarily a true story, but it absolutely happened to me. Well, it was 11:30 at night and 98 degrees. And I was inside at the bar, the Continental Club, down on South Congress, waiting on James McMurtry's Wednesday midnight show. I'm talking Austin, Texas here. The live music capital of the world. I seen her walk in without paying so much as $1 at the door. Head straight to the bar where a line of tequila shots had kind of magically appeared for her. And there was a kiss from the bartender and another more interesting one from a cocktail waitress. And hugs all around and a real tear or two, I tell you. But even I, who had just moved to Austin and who still wasn't clear about what it was the Colorado River cut through, could see that this woman was no ordinary woman. And that this, well, it was no ordinary night. I was a new kid in town, a neophyte, a wannabe, a sapsucker, hoping to somehow ingratiate and insinuate himself into the mythical continuum of this myth-ridden city. But who then and there somehow allowed the lame and unfortunate words, "Hey, do you live around here?" to escape his sorry lips. That's when she leaned in close and whispered in my ear, "Man, I hate to be the one to say, but it's too late to live in Austin." And she explained how just that afternoon she had loaded all her stuff into her truck and that now she was stopping by the Continental Club for one last drink on her way out of town. She told me how this little cottage she'd been living in on this place called Wilson Street for over 20 years was getting bulldozed by some pencil-weenie real estate developer, and that she had seriously considered dousing him in gasoline and just setting his ass on fire. But now with gas being $4 a gallon and all, she said she was just moving on. That it had gotten too hard to hear the music for the BS anyhow. And that nowadays, anyways, Austin was just Nashville without the hair gel. And South by Southwest wasn't anything more than whore bait for swarms of corporate scorpions who had bought their way into a card game where others had actually ended up in blood. It was a city, she explained, that had tried to wean itself off cocaine with perennial prescriptions of Xanax and Wellbutrin, all washed down with gulps of Red Bull and Topo Chico. And that there was a sound ordinance now, for God's sakes, and just one record store and barely one reliable radio station. And each battling against 1,000 tattoo parlors, peddling tribal identification to a bunch of punks that didn't know the difference between being weird and pathetic. She said, I'm not sentimental, I'm not nostalgic, I'm just trying to set you straight. Man, it's too late to live in Austin. And then, just like that, she was gone. I never got her name, didn't even see her leave. But all these things that she told me kept running through my head, leaving me feeling sort of stunned and empty. But then it wasn't long before old James McMurtry crawled out on the stage with his band, and they plugged in and began to play. And I don't know. It's been a while back now. And I'm still here in the city of the Violet Crown. And though the traffic sucks and the kids are lame, and it's hotter and it's drier than it's been in a century, well, the music hadn't stopped. And the songs are still being sung. And for right now, at least, well, I think I'll stay and live in Austin. I'll live in Austin.
Was that recorded?
Yeah, that is on the Punishing the Myth record, and I recorded it live, and it's Punishing the Myth is a record. I said I recorded this record 10 years ago, and man, I'm probably oversharing here, but when I had that record, and we raked those songs up, and we made that record. We brought in, Liza Gilkinson sang on it, and Rick Richards and Joel Guzman. We had like the top A-list players on this thing, and I believed in the song so much, and we recorded it, and I shared it around. I raised a lot of money, to buy a publicist and, all this kind of stuff. And the record never did a damn thing, really. It never made a bounce. It didn't change my life. I really thought it was going to do all of that. And I went after that happened, I went through this like depression. And I'm only getting this in retrospect. It wasn't like, oh, you made a record and it didn't bounce and now you're depressed. I had to get through it before I can kind of assess this. And it took me to about 2016 or 17 before I could make another record. I wasn't really writing any songs. I was just kind of out but what I got out of it, it ended up being a really positive thing because I realized I came to accept the fact that I had fought my way kind of into the middle of the pack, And that's probably where I was going to be, you know, and that I was going to tour around and hopefully I could get, 15 or 20 people to come out and hear me play. And then I'd go someplace else and try to do. David Oldney told me one time, he said, I'm still touring around the country looking for 30 people that get my shit, you know. And so that's kind of been, it kind of framed my life for me. And I have really, since I came to accept all that, everything's been really good. But this is the 10th anniversary of that record, and it's been sold out for like 4 or 5 years. So I'm remastering it, and I'm remastering it, and I'm going to print it out in the same way I've been doing my other records. Did I come up here with more stuff? Yeah, like this. This is my latest release, and this is a CD. It doesn't look like a CD until you open it, and it's got a CD in there, and it's got one of those QR codes for you people say, I no longer have a CD player in my car. Well, you got that, and there's a download thing. So there's 3 ways to listen to it, and I put like, I just wound out. I mean, Gurf keeps all of these notes for all you music nerds out there. Every record he's ever made or produced, he keeps notes of the guitar that he played, the mics he used, the amps he played, the settings, all this kind of stuff. So all of that will be in that for the Punishing the Myth, as well as the lyrics and the story behind the songs, and a little bit, if I don't overshare, a little bit of what I just shared with you about how transformative the failure of that record was and what a positive thing it was for me as a musician. So anyhow, my girlfriend is watching. She's probably just cringing now that I'm sharing this stuff. I love you, Ruthie. Thank you so much. But anyhow, I've got one more song for you. Are there any questions? Anybody got any questions?
Yeah, you sell your book of poetry.
Yes, I do have my book of poetry right here. Yeah, and I also have another thing. This is another thing. I will tell you, I'm never doing this again. This is a book of short stories, and you talking about something that kicked my ass. And this came out 2 months ago, and it's called The Heart Has Memory. And somebody asked me, are they about being in the music business? And I went and I thought every story has at least a jukebox playing in it. Yeah, so some of them are directly about the music business, and some of them are, one of them is very autobiographical, though the person, the central character has a long ponytail. But anyhow, I've got that too. I only have those 3 CDs. Those 3 items. Everything else I'm sold out of. But I'm going to try this format, and this has been selling good. People have something in their hand that they can walk out of the door with. It's got poems in. I put poems and a short story and photographs and all of that kind of stuff. All right. So enough of me talking. I'm gonna play you the last song. Thank you so much to the foundation. I know there's a foundation. Yeah. I've been at this long enough to know that a place like this to stay open and keep running has people that write checks. And I don't know if any of those people who write checks are here now, but if you are, I would like to thank you so much for that. And if you're not, somebody who knows who those people are, if you would tell them that I extended a real appreciation to them for that. I'm going to play you, this is a song shortly after I moved back from Nicaragua. Well, almost immediately when I moved back, the economy in our nation began taking one of these turns. You didn't feel it out here in Texas because y'all grow stuff and pump stuff out of the ground and you got, make stuff and have all this corporate, Florida, we don't have any of that. Florida orange juice now, I'm going to tell you, and this is true, Florida orange juice is California oranges shipped to Florida and squeezed in Florida, and then they put Florida orange juice on it. We don't even grow oranges anymore. We don't make anything. All we do is depend on people to come down there and start spending money, so we got that big sales tax, and that's the thing that fuels everything for us. And what happens, we're the canary in the mine shaft of the nation's economy, is what happens is when the economy does one of these things, people quit coming down, and we get really wiggy when that happens. And in 2007, this happened. Y'all might remember what happened back then. Okay, yeah. And but so it started doing that. And our governor at the time, who was a pretty smart guy, actually, in retrospect, I have a lot of respect for this guy. He was a lot smarter than his brother. I just want to say that. I know I'm not supposed to say anything political up here. I'm trying to stay away from that. But anyhow, Jeb decided what we needed to help Florida get on its feet was a new state song, because we had an old state song that was called, and this is an irony lost on everybody except me and Jeb. Our old state song was called, are you ready for this? The Old Folks at Home. Yeah, it's like the oldest. And so Jeb, he knew that was like a bad marketing idea. So he got $9,999 budgeted through the Florida legislature to pay for the winner of this song contest that I entered and lost. You're going to see why real quick here. In the middle of the winter, when you need a vacation, come where the sun and the sand is waiting, right down here at the bottom of our nation. I'm talking about Florida. Well, yeah, to come on down to the Sunshine State. Bring your money, check out the place. Well, chances are you'll decide to stay. Hell, everybody else does. Well, there's 1,000 new residents coming down every day. They're all moving in and buying up the place. They're filling in the swamps to make some more space. And man, we're starting to need it. We got snake farms and alligator wrestlers, more state executions than anywhere but Texas. Shuffleboard and wet t-shirt contestants. Man, you gotta see it to believe it. Come on down to the Sunshine State. Bring your money, check out the place. Well, chances are you'll decide to stay. Hell, everybody else does. Well, we're #1 in lightning strikes, snake bites, alligator and shark attacks. Got 1 million illegal aliens to sack our trash, clean toilets, wash dishes, and cut our grass. I'm telling you, it's heaven. One golf course for every man, woman, and child. We cut down our trees so you can see for miles. Don't it seem like a place you could kick back a while? Well, dude, it don't get no better. So come on down to the Sunshine State. Well, bring your money, check out the place. Well, chances are you'll decide to stay. Hell, everybody else does. We got these federally subsidized sugar plantations. They're bigger and richer than European nations. They own our politicians and hire all the Haitians. It's what you call a sweet deal. Well, everybody said it was some kind of joke when we said it ain't over till your brother counts the votes. And 10 years later, we elected Ron DeSantis. Ooh, it's what you call a state steal. Come on down to the Sunshine State. We'll bring your money, check out the place. Chances are you'll decide to stay. Hell, everybody else does. Well, our school system rate's higher than Mississippi and Louisiana. And though we ain't up there with Arkansas and Alabama, 10% of our children wind up in the slammer, and that's gotta count for something. You see, we ain't got no state income tax because we just stick it to all the Yankee tourists, and that makes up for that. A service-based economy is what keeps us fat. That and a lot of fried mullet. Come on down to the Sunshine State. We'll bring your money, check out the place. Well, chances are you'll decide to stay. Hell, everybody else does. Thank y'all so much. Oh, no. Okay. It was called Where the Sawgrass Meets My Ass is what the name of the... It was actually, I tell you what they did is to show just how they didn't know what was going on. They didn't know what songwriters were. You had to submit the score with it. like the little notes and stuff like that. I don't know a single songwriter who can do that, except for the person, a woman, was a woman who taught music in a middle school in Pinellas County. And it was a terrible song. It was horrible. It was something about the sawgrass meets the sky. It was called Where the Sawgrass Meets the Sky. And but it won. But it was so bad. I don't even know what's happened with it now. We still have the same old state song. And, okay, I got one more for y'all. I'm gonna have to bring this out again if I can. And I'm gonna play a song be a little familiar to you because it was written by a guy who, a native Austin guy, and after he wrote it, I fell in love with the song, but it had a section in there, and it's a kind of a weird structure. It goes verse, verse, and then this long section that I call the I Believe section, and I loved the song so much, and I would be singing it, but when I got to the I Believe part, I started singing the things that I believed. It was nothing against him or what he had written, but I just kind of, and so I had this whole section of these I believe this and I believe that was different than the way he wrote it. And on my 60th birthday, I wanted to make a little record, and I made a little record, and I asked him if I could record it, replacing those words with my own, and he said absolutely no problem. So. When I die, let them judge me by my company of friends. Let them know me by the footprints I have left here on this sand. Let them laugh at all the laughter. Let them cry at laughter's end. And when I die, let them judge me by my company of friends. And when I die, let them judge me by the things that I believe. And let them raise a glass to consciousness, not spill one drop for greed. And let the bubbles rise at midnight, let their tongues be light as thieves. When I die, let them judge me by these things that I believe. And I believe in songs as weapons, and I believe in fighting fair, and I believe in hard-earned lessons. In the end, I do believe. And I believe in driving all night. I believe in coffee black, and I believe in holding on tight. In the end, I do believe. And I believe in sleeping naked, and I believe in starting fires, and I believe some words, they're sacred. In the end, I do. And I believe in planting gardens, and I believe in pulling weeds, and I believe in slaying tyrants. In the end, I do believe. And I believe in intuition, and I believe in being wrong, and I believe in contradictions. In the end, I do. And I believe in living smitten, and I believe all hearts will mend. And I believe my book is written by my company of friends. So when I die, just let them judge me by this company of friends. Let them know me by the footprints I have left here on this sand. Let the bubbles rise at midnight, let their hearts be light as thieves. And when I die, let them judge me by the things that I believe. When I die, let them judge me by my company of friends. Danny Schmidt, thank y'all so much.
Grant Peeples. I want to say hi to some people who are tuning in online. Bodie in Thomasville, Georgia. Ruthie. Yeah, Ruthie. David and Cheryl in Lexington. Morgan in Austin. And Suzanne and Eric in Swiss Alps, Texas, just down the road. Yes. And you mentioned the people who write checks. We do have a few of our patrons, yes, in here tonight. And we appreciate you. If you're interested in learning more about the foundation, pick up one of our little blue brochures here. And just so that you know, we did have a swan song concert this week that happened actually in Austin. A lady from LaGrange is in a memory care unit in Austin, and so we did a swan song concert in Austin for her this week, and it went really well, according to her husband. So anyway, thanks for your support. We invite you to take... I have an April calendar. That's not going to do you any good. There's May calendars out. There are May calendars. Yes. Richard's done a fabulous job bringing talent to LaGrange. So please, I hope we see you again for a show. And Joanna has just opened the Peeples Mall. There have lots of stuff. There's a sticker I particularly like there that says "Listen to Women." I like that. Anyway, so thank you to Grant for coming.
I have a question for you.
Yes.
Did you just say Grange? Is that y'all say Grange instead of LaGrange?
LaGrange. I think I said LaGrange. I might have said it quickly.
Okay, I didn't know.
Yeah, LaGrange. All right. Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful evening and have safe travels home. Thank you.